Hello everyone, and welcome to The Secret World. Now I'm basically going to be playing through, well, we'll see how much of the game. But I'm making these videos not only as a, for those of you who may not be interested in playing the game, just want to kind of see what it is, or for those of you who, have just gotten involved in the game. I'd also like to give you kind of some tips and hints, basic information, which may not be obvious because, while this is an MMO, there is a lot of things that are different than your traditional MMO. Not just the fact that it has no levels and no classes, but also the way the questing works, and the skills, and how to avoid creating a... well, you can't really create a broken character, but you can get into situations later on in the game where your current skill set isn't going to be able to take out the mobs that you need to take out. Fortunately, the game lets you repeat missions and such so that you can earn more experience, get more skills, and in so doing so, get the skills that you do need. So you're never truly stuck, you just might end up grinding if you're, depending on how you level. With that said, the first character I ran through the game, or at least all the the content they have available right now, I did not have to grind at all. I was able to get all the way through the main story of the game without having to actually sit there and grind missions. So don't go in thinking that you're going to have to sit there and do missions and kill mobs over and over and over again, because you don't. So here we are at character creation. By default you have 3 character slots, and that might seem like, and that's 3 per account, not per server. And that may seem like just a little bit, but when you take into account that there are 3 factions in the game, and any single character can do everything, you can get all the skills available in the game on a single character, then that's not really much of a restriction. For the most, the most of you may want to end up making one for each faction, like I've done, just so that you can see the, the different little flavors of the world. For the most part, a lot of the missions in the game are shared between all the factions. The turn-in text and the turn-in text is different per faction, and each faction will have, I think at the time of recording, about 4 or 5 unique missions for them. But otherwise, your choice of faction is just kind of your personal preference. And you'll see here we're looking at choose home dimension when we're about to create a new character. And there's a couple of them here, and the reason they use the word dimension here instead of server is because the game really only has one server. Everybody essentially plays on the same server. Your dimension that you pick only determines which instances of the server you go to by default, and which PvP instances are available to you. For example, somebody on the Daemon server is not going to be getting into the same PvP match as someone from the Arcadia server. However, someone who is, I shouldn't be using the word server, I should be using dimension, someone from the Daemon dimension can, however, friend, chat with, and join up with somebody from the Arcadia dimension or any other dimension to do PvE content. Not just in-world content, but all of the instances and the raid in the game. So, for the most part, unless you're trying to put together a PvP team, your choice of dimension is really just up to you, and you don't have to worry about being on the exact same dimension as all your friends, or if your friends are split up on multiple dimensions, and so on and so forth. Even guilds in the game can have people from multiple dimensions. So, unless you're going to be going into this with heavy PvP, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'm going to pick the Arcadia dimension, as that's what I have my characters on. And it's one of the 2 role-playing dimensions in the game, the other one being Leviathan. And the rest of them just being your general dimensions. There is a Dutch and a French dimension as well, for those of you who may prefer that as your native language. It doesn't change the language of the game, obviously, but it does help group together people who speak the same language, just to make it easier for you to communicate and find groups and other people that might be easier to play with. So what is the secret world? What is kind of the game? You saw kind of the background there was modern day apartment looking. This is not a fantasy game as a lot of MMOs that are out there right now. It's also not a science fiction game. It is modern day. It is set in our world, not some fictional world. In fact, you can kind of see the outline of the Earth here and the various continents and these hexes in the background here. And it's very much a conspiracy theory puzzle, I guess you could say puzzle MMO to some extent. There's a lot of action and combat, but for the most part, unless you're actually a fan of conspiracies and myths and legends, and both ancient and modern, we have for example, one of these zones in the game is in Egypt, and the entire theme through the Egyptian zone is one of the ancient pharaohs who historically did some very uncharacteristic things for an Egyptian pharaoh. I'm trying not to spoil that for you. And the game kind of pokes into that and has its own opinion of what was really going on in that situation, and explores that, and you get to kind of puzzle it out. But in general, it's modern day, so you have guns, you have melee weapons, you do have magic, because magic does exist, and you are one of the special few who have magic. And of course I say special few, and by special few I mean every player character in the game, which doesn't sound like the special few because everybody you meet is going to know magic. But when you consider that this does take place in our world, which has a population of 5 billion, and most of the NPCs you see will not have magical powers, you can see that, you as the player are kind of one of the elite few. So out of the 3 secret factions that you have, there is the Illuminati, the Templars, and the Dragon. And I'm actually just going to play the introductory videos for each of them so that you can get a feel for each of the factions and what they actually kind of stand for.
It's all about power. Grabbing it, keeping it, using it. Power is our currency, our DNA, our God. We control the world. We provide the blueprint and we give the instructions. We're the people in grainy photos on grassy knolls. We're the shadowy faces in smoky back rooms and darkened boardrooms. We're right here, hiding in plain sight, buying and selling favors. Blackmail, treason, deceit, these are our stock in trade. We work the magic of the drunken evenings with senators and chiefs of staff. We shake down demons and negotiate with sorcerers. We have stocks in hell and compromising photos of angels. We use any means necessary, regardless of the cost, because the world is a bad place, and you can either do or get done. We're the Illuminati, and we're not done.
So as you can see, the Illuminati, they're very traditional. I guess you could say traditional. They're relatively, I don't even know what word I'm looking for here. But essentially, they're probably the faction that you would think of when you think secret society. The ones who are in the shadows, in the background, manipulating society to its own ends, and doing it just for the sense of power. And the next on the list here is the Templars, which you've probably also heard of as well.
You came to us in search of a purpose. And mark this, there is no purpose greater than ours. the world will founder without structure and discipline. It needs leadership to guide it to a new age of stability. It needs those with the will to stamp out the darkness that breeds in the cracks. We do this because we are compelled by tradition, by loyalty, by laws. Without these, we are just animals. Evil reigns over animals, corrupting and compromising, toppling empires. So our empire must be incorruptible, must be uncompromising. Our conflict must be a righteous one. Your conviction will be tested, but among us, your faith will be unshaken. Among the Templars.
So the Templars there, you're pretty much your typical white knights. However, this being the game that it is, they're very much our way is the right way, and we're going to protect the world from itself. Kind of the high and mighty. We're uncorruptible. We can do no wrong to some extent. So that's actually the faction that my main character is going with. But last but not least, the dragon, which you probably haven't heard of, but honestly, that's kind of the whole point.
카오스를 이론적으로 정의해볼까? 그건 1000개의 동전을 공중에 던지는 것과 같다. 하나하나의 동전이 떠올랐다가 떨어지면서 정의와 탐욕, 관용과 처형, 고난과 따분함을 결정하는 것이다. 드래곤은 누구일까? 우리는 동전의 어느 한쪽 면도 아니다. 그저 운명이 우리를 위해 움직이기를 바랄 뿐이다. 우리는 동전이 아니라 동전을 던지는 손이다. 동전이 그리는 궤적이고 동전을 흔드는 거친 바람이기도 하다. 셀 수 없는 조건에 따라 결과는 달라지지만 우리는 그 모든 결과를 파악하고 조작하려고 노력한다. 1000개의 동전이 떨어져 내리는 동안 우리는 공식을 만들고 계산해서 각 동전이 어디에 떨어질지 예측한다. 동전이 떨어진 다음에는 어떻게 할까? 우리는 상황에 따라 적당히 조절한 다음 동전을 다시 공중으로 튕긴다. 우리는 드래곤이다. 이 이론이 정의하는 범위를 넘어 카오스를 제어한다.
And that was the dragon. Very much Eastern mysticism, with the idea that they can observe behavior, observe the world kind of as a complete system, and make tiny little adjustments, but appearing to be unrelated to the uneducated observer, and basically change the course of history from the shadows. So for this playthrough, mostly because of a lot of the stuff that I've seen online, he's been kind of the Templar or dragon focused. We're going to go with the Illuminati, but also because I think they're kind of the more, should I say, self-aware faction. The Templars are very straight-laced, very as you'd expect. Dragon are all Eastern mysticism, and also a lot of their stuff is in Korean because that's what that's where their faction is based. So I'd end up having to read a lot of subtitles. So there's a bit of a selfish reason there too. But the Illuminati are pretty big on humor. A lot of real world references and stuff, and you'll see some of that as we get into the game. So here we are. The Illuminati. Now they've changed the background here to show us kind of the theme of the Illuminati, and this is New York. Yes, it is our New York, and those of you who live in New York, when we get to the hub, may actually recognize the area of New York you're in, as it very closely matches a set of street corner in New York itself. So this is a character creator. Now, as you'd expect from a modern real-world game, there are no races. At least not in the fantasy / sci-fi sense. You are human, and you can be male or female. And past that, it's pretty much adjusting your general character's look and your starting clothing. Now, in this game, clothing is not your gear. It doesn't have any stats on it. It does not affect your character in any way. So feel free to make your character however you want them to look. Give them whatever clothes you want them to wear, with a knowledge that you can keep that look throughout the entire game or change it up without actually affecting your character's stats and performance. Anything that gives you stats, I should say, any of the equipable items except for weapons that give you stats are not visible on your character. Your weapons you can also customize as well, which through a mechanism which we will show later. So you do have pretty much complete control over the way you look. And the options here are not going to be exhaustive. There are a lot of clothing options, both for purchase with in-game cash and a couple of outfits that you can purchase from their online store. Which I suppose should kind of lead into the monetization of the game. Basically, you pay the $30, at least at the time of the recording it was $30 for the box. You get everything in the box. Everything up to the first 4 DLC packs, which were released by the time the game changed its monetization strategy. There are no restrictions, and the only thing that you then would pay for past that would be things like clothing, titles, non-combat pets, just cosmetic things. And then they are releasing basically small DLCs roughly every month, which adds additional missions and content to the game. Anything that's like system-wide, if they add a new feature to the game, you'll basically get for free. But the mission content, which is the real kind of meat and potatoes of the game, is a DLC that you pay for. And the price isn't too bad. The only DLC right now that they have out, which is the first one they released after the game went basically pay to play, is $5. So it's not expensive at all, and it contains an entire mission chain of about 5 or 6 missions. That's pretty good and definitely worth the price. So I'm just going to kind of go through the basic character options that you have here, and then I will skip ahead once I have the character created, the way I want it, so that you don't actually have to sit there and watch me fiddle with all the sliders to pick something that I like. So basically, a lot of your basic focus is going to be head and your outfit. Oh, and of course, the character slides, where you can be short or tall. This is actually something they added in one of their patches, and is one of the things that they that you would get for free even if you were a free player. So this was added post-launch, and allows you a little bit of character size, just because I'm going to go a little bit on the short side. But the character creator is probably not as extensive as you've seen in some MMOs. You've got 12 different head types here, and you can see that they kind of each have their own underlying ethnicity. So there's Caucasian, Asian, and African / Middle Eastern looks in there. And once you've picked that, you get your appropriate selection of skin colors. Not a huge amount of variation. Again, this is a real-world game. Eyes. The slider here gives you, a set of eye shape options and eye colors. In this case, they do actually have a couple of red eye options. I guess if you want to play some sort of demonic character, or your character just likes colored contact lenses for whatever reason. A few nose options. 7 there. Some lip options. Another 7 there. 7 jaw options. And that's basically your head customization. You don't have the giant, massive sliders that something like, say, Age of Conan or Rift has in it. And these are all customizable later. If you decide you want to get a new hairstyle, or if you want to get a new eye color or change the look of your face, there is a plastic surgeon in the game where you can pay to get that customized. And for the hair, of course, you go to a barbershop in game to get that changed. So hairstyles, you've got pretty good selection here of various hairstyles. There is, for the most part, they look pretty good. There is nothing particularly long. And one thing you will notice is this game does not, as of time of recording, have any kind of hair/cloth physics. So unfortunately, while you do have some of these rather nice looking ponytails and some other semi-long hairstyles, let me see if I can find. Yeah, some of them are pretty crazy. Let's see here. There was one here that had like for example this one, the schoolgirl one. And these ponytails are basically plastic, unfortunately. They basically stay stiff to the side of your head. So keep that in mind as you're picking a hairstyle. It does also mean that their clothing options they do not really have any kind of long flowing dress options. And there are a couple of places where a skirt probably isn't the best choice, just because of the character animations in cutscenes don't necessarily pick based on your gender. So, you know, depending on what their capture actor did, it may look rather indecent if you're playing a female character in a short skirt. Hey, maybe you like that. I mean, whatever. Obviously, girls do not have any kind of facial hair, so there's no options for facial hair here. If you were having a male character, for example, you can switch to that. You have your facial hair color, and it looks like the let's see, is the facial hair tied to the, I wonder why I'm not seeing any kind of facial hair options. Oh, it's because it's down here, but they put the color up there, I suppose to make it easier for you to match the color with your hair color if you wanted to. So, you know, the guys have a pretty good selection of facial hair. The reason it's dimmed out is because it's checked to automatically synchronize with your hair color to make it easier for you, but there's no reason why you can't have red hair and a purple mustache if you really wanted a purple mustache. And then there's, you know, some basic facial features here, including rather cheesy stuff. Some basic, you know, face paint. They will be adding a tattoo parlor in the next couple of months. So there's not a whole lot of information about what that's going to involve, other than obviously tattoos, but, you know, hoping for being able to place body art on, you know, face, body, arms, legs, etc. So we'll see how that goes. And once you've done, you know, once you've kind of got your character looking the way you want here, there's also the clothing. And in some cases, you might want to go here first anyway, because, you know, maybe you want to see what it looks like without glasses, so that you can make more accurate changes to the face. But you've got, you know, a couple different glasses selections. These are by no means the entire selection of glasses in the game. These are just a very small set of various clothing options. There's a much larger variety in game, but you have some pretty good starting options here. I suppose if you wanted to start out a little bloody, you've got your coats, which, you know, if you don't want a coat, just fine. These go over your shirts, and of course various styles of pants, shorts, cargo shorts. Let me pick something shorter here so we can go look at the shoes. You've got some basic shoe options, sneakers, hiking boots. And of course, if we switch over to the female characters, they have pretty much a general collection of shoes here. Nothing terribly fancy for them either. There are heels in the game. They do not actually increase your character height. They kind of fake it by shrinking your legs in proportion. They've got, you know, some shorts, some pants. I'm not seeing any skirt options. Maybe they took that out because, at least for the starting characters, to kind of avoid the issue I was talking about earlier with some of the animations. They have, you know, some overshirt options, a couple of different shirts, and of course their own selection of classes. So that's basically the overview of the character creator. I'm going to spend some time here and actually create the character that I want, and we will be back once I'm done with that to get to naming and the introduction of the game. Alright everyone, so welcome back. Pretty much got our character here sketched out the way I want him. You know, thinking, hey, Illuminati, you know, party, rebel, hence the interesting hair color. I do have a couple of corrections to make. They do have hair color, or facial hair color for the females. However, this only changes your eyebrow color, which is probably going to be impossible to see on the stream. But I'm just going to have it sync up with the hair color. Also, this button down here in the left, as well as this button down here on the right, randomizes your character. So if you just want to see some crazy options, you can click those and get you know, just a wide variety of different looks until you find something you would like or are interested in. So, as I know, we're going to be going killing zombies and a lot of things, you know, wanted something at least, you know, practical to wear that isn't going to be too hard to clean or what have you. Obviously not actual concerns in the MMO, just kind of from a semi-role-playing aspect. So now we're going to move on to character name. And you'll notice here we have a first name, a nickname, and a last name. So the one that is actually going to show up in chat next to the things that you say, and going to show up above your head, assuming people have, you know, the full name options turned off, will be the nickname. You can kind of think of it as an online handle, if you wish, or, you know, the call sign for fighter pilots. But in general, it's the name that's going to show up most of the time in game. So, you know, if you usually do that, and you know, the nice thing about being modern is, you know, while in a fantasy game you can see somebody run around with, you know, XX Sephiroth XX or whatever, and that, you know, looks totally wrong. Here it would still kind of look wrong, but at least it semi makes sense because it's a kind of an online handle thing. And it does have to be unique, and because there is only one server, that's going to be unique across all players in the game. The first and the last name, however, do not have to be unique and can pretty much be whatever you want it to be. So, you know, that's going to be your traditional first and last name that, you know, somebody would have in the real world. So, I'm going to take a second here to come up with a name, hopefully something that isn't taken, and then we will be right into the opening cutscene. Obviously, through this playthrough, there will be spoilers. I normally wouldn't warn something like that, of course, for an MMO, because stories in MMOs are usually not that great or important, but in this MMO, they are definitely very high, with very good story, very high quality voice acting and writing and cinematography. So just be aware that you will be seeing the game's content. Of course, you know, it's a Let's Play. Why are you here if you're not wanting to see game content? There are also missions that involve pretty heavy puzzle solving, which are called investigation missions. And I will provide some option for those of you who want to solve them on your own to either skip past or avoid those parts so that you aren't spoiled for exactly how to solve those missions, because those aren't going to really vary up, aren't really going to be randomized or anything. They're going to have the same solution every time, which of course means you can find hints and walkthroughs and so on the internet. But if you want to avoid that, I will be providing options for you to do so. So I will be right back with our character's name and the intro to the secret world. See you there.
Further developments in Tokyo, where the military is maintaining a heavily guarded perimeter around the site of last month's terrorist attack. The Japanese government has stated that an unidentified radical political group released a biological agent in the Tokyo subway, less than 1 kilometer from Orochi Tower. Although the area has been evacuated, there have been eyewitness reports of activity inside the perimeter, including ongoing fighting between Orochi security personnel and armed civilians. Authorities are denying these reports, and the military has barred anyone from approaching within 100 meters of the temporary perimeter.
You will see the end of days. You will see the dawning of a new age. To be a monarch or a beggar. To lose everything or to become a god. To stand with us or against us. The choice is yours. Remember this.
Be mindful of the voices.
Listen to the voices
They
that
will whisper
in your sleep.
You are with the chosen,
with
but
the
you
chosen,
must choose for
But you
yourself.
must make the right choices.
You are cursed with free will.
You are cursed with free will. We are here to guide you to the light.
It's not my place to intervene, but then this
Even if this is merely a dream.
Make the right choices.
The right choices. And be mindful of the voices that whisper.
They corrupt.
For they speak the truth.
Somebody's been bad. I approve. Mind if I come in? Time is ticking, so I'll cut straight to the chase. I work in talent acquisition, specializing in a highly unconventional sector for a very particular client. And they're particularly interested in your kind of talent. Fucking stuff up, putting it back together, altering the fabric of space and time, basic thaumaturgy. My client is only interested in the best of the best. That's where I come in. Your talent is raw, but it's obvious. My client has the means to refine that talent and make the most of what you've got, and I'm not talking about money. Well, not just money. Protection, power, the best parties in the biz. We're prepared to give you a unique opportunity, a chance to prove you've got what it takes to hang with the big boys and girls, to rule the world. It's up to you to grab that opportunity by the balls. Based on what I've seen so far, you might be what I'm looking for, or you might end up dead. Time will tell. Tick tock. You have an appointment tomorrow in Brooklyn that I'd recommend you keep. There's no address. Consider this the commencement of your official interview. Find us, or we'll find you. My client has eyes everywhere. Don't be stupid. Later, Gator.
The local character is like totally
Alright,
sketchy character.
and welcome to New York, the headquarters of the Illuminati, as we have just had our first encounter with a member of the Illuminati, and unfortunately I don't think we're going to be getting the deposit back on our apartment. So, actually this is probably a pretty good place to cut the video. It'll be, I'm not quite sure how long these are going to be, and I'm going to be doing some editing, of course, to, you know, cut down and get rid of a lot of the dead stuff and all that. So, anyway, we will be back with more Secret World. So I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching.